Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Value is never something you have to announce. If you truly have it, people recognize it without you saying a single word. In life, especially in relationships, people don't just listen to what you say, they watch what you do. And let me be real with you. Talking about your worth won't make a man respect you, but showing it will. Value is recognized through action, not words. This simple truth applies to every aspect of life, from relationships to careers, friendships, and even personal growth. You can talk about your worth all day, but if your actions don't align with your words, they become meaningless. People pay attention to what you do, how you carry yourself, and the way you respond to situations more than they ever listen to what you say about yourself. This is especially true when it comes to relationships. A person who constantly has to explain their value is often met with resistance, doubt, or even dismissal. But when you live your value without saying a word, it commands respect in a way that words never could. Think about the most respected and admired people in the world. They don't walk into a room announcing their greatness. They don't have to remind people how valuable they are. Their actions, their presence, and their consistency make it undeniable. The same principle applies in relationships. A woman who truly knows her worth doesn't feel the need to convince a man that she's valuable. She simply is. She moves with confidence, she sets standards, and she respects herself in a way that naturally demands others to do the same. When you focus on actions rather than words, you allow people to see your value through the way you live your life. This means setting boundaries and sticking to them. If you say you won't tolerate certain behaviors but continuously allow them, then your words hold no weight. But when you quietly remove yourself from situations that don't serve you, you send a powerful message without ever speaking. People learn how to treat you based on what you accept and what you walk away from. Actions also reveal self-respect. A woman who respects herself doesn't chase after people who don't appreciate her. She doesn't beg for attention or validation. She moves forward with her life, knowing that the right people will recognize her worth without her having to convince them. She invests in herself, takes care of her mind, body, and soul, and surrounds herself with people who uplift her. This silent confidence is far more attractive and commanding than any words could ever be. Men, in particular, pay close attention to action. They notice consistency, independence, and the way a woman carries herself in everyday life. A woman who says she's strong but constantly needs validation contradicts her own words. But a woman who simply lives her life with purpose, who focuses on her goals, her happiness, and her own growth, that's a woman who naturally draws the right kind of attention. She doesn't have to demand respect because she embodies it. She doesn't have to ask for love because she radiates self-love, which in turn attracts the right kind of love into her life. Silence, in many ways, is more powerful than words. When you argue, explain, or try to prove your worth, you give away your power. But when you step back, when you allow your actions to do the talking, you force people to pay attention in a different way. They realize your absence, they recognize your strength, and they come to understand that you are not someone who needs to be convinced of her own value. This is a lesson not just in relationships, but in life. Employers, friends, and even strangers will treat you according to the way you treat yourself. If you carry yourself with dignity, if you respect your own time and energy, others will follow suit. Living your value also means being intentional with how you present yourself. It's in the way you walk into a room, the way you hold your head high, and the way you make decisions that align with your standards. It's choosing to be around people who respect and uplift you rather than those who drain your energy. It's about being selective with your time, investing in things that help you grow, and never settling for less than you deserve. At the end of the day, talking about your worth will never be as effective as living it. You don't need to explain yourself, prove anything, or convince anyone. When you consistently show up for yourself, when you set boundaries, when you carry yourself with confidence and grace, your value becomes undeniable. Actions are what people remember, and actions are what define how you are treated. Men respond more to consistency, confidence, and self-respect. This is not just about relationships, but about human nature. People, especially men, pay attention to patterns. Words can be persuasive in the moment, but actions over time are what truly shape how someone sees you. When a woman consistently upholds her standards, respects herself, and carries herself with confidence, a man takes notice. He learns who she is not because she tells him, but because she shows him. This consistency builds trust, and trust builds respect. A woman who constantly changes her expectations, allows disrespect, or seeks validation through words rather than actions sends mixed signals. But when she stands firm in her value, without needing to prove it, she commands attention without demanding it. Confidence is magnetic. It's not about arrogance or showing off. It's about knowing who you are and being secure in that. A confident woman does not beg for love, chase attention, or compromise her worth for the sake of keeping someone in her life. She moves with assurance, knowing that she is enough as she is. She doesn't have to announce it. Her presence speaks for itself. Men and people in general gravitate toward confidence because it signals strength and security. When a woman values herself, she doesn't waste time convincing anyone else to see it. She simply lives in a way that makes it undeniable. Self-respect is the foundation of all of this. A woman who respects herself knows when to walk away. She knows what she will and won't tolerate. She does not entertain situations that drain her, nor does she allow herself to be treated as an option. This doesn't mean she has to be rude or cold. It simply means she honors herself enough to step away from anything that does not align with her value. When a man sees that a woman has this kind of self-respect, he either rises to meet her standards or removes himself from her life. Either way, she wins, because she does not settle for anything less than what she deserves. The right man will recognize your value and the wrong one will fade away. This is one of the most powerful truths in life. You do not have to convince someone to see your worth. The people who are meant for you will see it on their own. The wrong people will always make you feel like you need to do more, explain more, or prove yourself. But the right people will recognize your value just by the way you carry yourself. A woman who understands this stops wasting time on those who do not appreciate her. She does not fight for a place in someone's life where she is not valued. She does not lower her standards just to keep someone around. Instead, she focuses on herself, knowing that the right person will naturally be drawn to her energy, her confidence, and her self-respect. When a woman stops chasing and starts living in her worth, something shifts. She no longer worries about whether someone sees her value because she knows that her actions make it clear. She moves with purpose, she invests in herself, and she does not entertain anything that does not serve. This kind of energy is powerful. It attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. When a man sees a woman who values herself at this level, he knows she is different. He knows she is not someone who can be played with or taken for granted. And if he is the right man, he will step up. If he is not, he will step aside. Either way, she stands firm in her worth. Carry yourself with grace and purpose. Your presence speaks volumes. The way you present yourself to the world determines how people treat you. It's not just about how you dress or how you look. It's about your energy, your attitude, and the way you navigate life. A woman who moves with grace and purpose doesn't need to explain her worth. People feel it the moment she enters a room. She walks with confidence, not arrogance, knowing exactly who she is and what she stands for. She doesn't seek approval from others because she already validates herself. She knows that her value isn't determined by external validation, but by how she carries herself and the way she treats herself. When a woman truly understands this, she becomes unforgettable. People respect her without her demanding it, and she attracts the kind of energy that aligns with her strength and self-assurance. You don't need to prove your worth. Live it. The mistake many people make is thinking they have to convince someone to see their value. But the truth is, value isn't something you explain, it's something you embody. A woman who knows her worth doesn't waste time trying to get someone to recognize it. She simply lives her life in a way that makes it clear. She sets boundaries and keeps them. She does not tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or anyone who makes her feel like she's not enough. Instead of talking about what she deserves, she naturally attracts it by refusing to settle for anything less. This applies to relationships, friendships, and even career opportunities. The people who see her actions will either step up to meet her standards or step away because they know they cannot meet them. Either way, she remains firm in her value, never lowering herself to make someone else comfortable. The right man will recognize your value. The wrong one will fade away. This is one of the most freeing realizations a woman can have. You don't have to beg, plead, or explain yourself to be loved and respected. The right man will see your worth without you having to convince him. He will respect your boundaries, appreciate your strength, and cherish the qualities that make you unique. He will not require constant explanations or proof because he will recognize your value through the way you carry yourself. On the other hand, the wrong man will make you feel like you have to do more, like you have to shrink yourself, or like you have to keep proving why you deserve love and respect. But the truth is, you never have to prove your worth to the right person. A man who cannot see your value is simply not the man for you. When a woman understands this, she stops chasing and starts attracting. She no longer wastes her energy on those who do not appreciate her. She invests in herself, focuses on her happiness, and allows the right people to come into her life naturally. When you live in your value, you will notice that the wrong people will slowly disappear and the right ones will stay. A woman who moves with confidence, grace, and purpose will always attract the love, respect, and opportunities that align with her worth. Value is recognized through action, not words. You don't have to convince people to see your worth when you live it every day. People are not moved by what you say about yourself. They are influenced by what you consistently do. This is why actions always speak louder than words. If you say you deserve respect but allow disrespect, your actions contradict your words. If you say you value yourself but settle for less than you deserve, people won't believe your words because your actions tell a different story. True value is not about constantly explaining your worth or proving it to anyone. It's about carrying yourself in a way that naturally commands respect. When you live in alignment with your standards, you won't have to chase validation. Your consistency in your actions will be all the proof you need. The people who recognize your value will be drawn to you, and those who don't will remove themselves. Men respond more to consistency, confidence, and self-respect. They notice patterns, they recognize strength, and they respect what is unwavering. A woman who is consistent in her actions, who doesn't waver in her standards, and who respects herself naturally stands out. She doesn't have to explain what she wants because her actions make it clear. Confidence is another key factor. A confident woman doesn't demand attention. She commands it simply by the way she carries herself. She doesn't feel the need to prove herself because she knows who she is. And that quiet assurance is powerful. Self-respect is the foundation of all of this. A woman who respects herself does not tolerate mistreatment, does not chase love, and does not seek external validation to feel whole. When a man sees this level of self-respect, he either steps up to meet her standards or realizes he is not capable of doing so. Either way, she remains unwavering in her value. Carry yourself with grace and purpose. Your presence speaks volumes. It's not about being loud, boastful, or constantly reminding people of your worth. It's about moving through life with dignity, confidence, and purpose. The way you present yourself, your energy, your composure, and your attitude determines how people perceive you. A woman who knows her value does not engage in unnecessary drama, does not beg for love, and does not waste her energy on situations that do not serve her. She walks into a room with confidence, not arrogance. She respects herself, and in doing so, she commands respect from others. Her presence alone makes a statement. People can feel when someone truly believes in themselves, and that kind of energy is undeniable. When you focus on living with purpose, making decisions that align with your values, and handling challenges with grace, you naturally gain the respect and admiration of those around you. You don't need to prove your worth, live it. The most powerful thing a woman can do is stop explaining herself and start showing who she is through her actions. If you constantly feel the need to prove your worth to someone, it means they already don't see it. And if they don't see it, they are not meant for you. A woman who knows her value doesn't waste time convincing people to appreciate her. She simply continues living her life in a way that reflects her standards, her confidence, and her self-respect. The people who are meant to recognize her worth will do so effortlessly. The wrong people will fade away, and she won't chase after them because she understands that her value does not decrease just because someone else fails to see it. By embodying your worth rather than talking about it, you create a life that naturally attracts the right opportunities, the right relationships, and the right people who respect and appreciate you for who you truly are. Value is recognized through action, not words. You don't have to announce your worth for people to see it. The way you carry yourself, the choices you make, and the way you respond to situations say everything. Words can be empty, but actions never lie. If you say you deserve respect yet accept disrespect, your actions contradict your words. If you claim to have high standards but constantly lower them to accommodate others, people will believe your actions, not your words. True value is not something you prove, it is something you live. The people who are meant to be in your life will recognize your worth without you having to convince them. And the people who don't see it, they were never meant to. Men respond more to consistency, confidence, and self-respect. It's not about being the loudest in the room or constantly reminding someone of what you bring to the table. It's about showing up in a way that makes your worth undeniable. A woman who is consistent in her actions, who stands firm in her beliefs, and who does not waver in her standards is a woman that commands respect. Confidence is not about arrogance. It's about self-assurance. It's the way you walk, the way you speak, and the way you make decisions. A confident woman does not beg for love, chase after attention, or seek validation from others. She moves with certainty, knowing that the right people will recognize her value without her needing to prove it. Self-respect is the foundation of everything. A woman who respects herself does not tolerate mistreatment, does not accept less than she deserves, and does not allow anyone to make her feel like she is not enough. When a man sees a woman with this level of self-respect, he either rises to meet her or fades away. Either way, she remains true to herself. Carry yourself with grace and purpose. Your presence speaks volumes. The way you walk into a room, the way you handle challenges, and the way you treat yourself all speak louder than words ever could. A woman who moves with grace does not need to demand respect because she naturally commands it. She does not waste her time on drama, negativity, or people who do not value her. Instead, she focuses on what matters: her goals, her happiness, and her peace. Purpose gives her direction, and grace gives her strength. She does not lower herself to prove anything to anyone. She simply continues living in alignment with her values, knowing that those who recognize her worth will respect her, and those who don't will remove themselves. Her presence alone sends a message, one of strength, dignity, and confidence. You don't need to prove your worth, live it. The moment you stop trying to convince people to see your value, you start attracting the right ones who do. When you live in a way that reflects your standards, you don't need to explain them. When you refuse to settle for less than you deserve, you don't need to justify why. When you carry yourself with self-respect and confidence, people take notice. A woman who lives her worth does not beg for love, does not chase after validation, and does not waste her time explaining herself to those who refuse to understand. She focuses on being the best version of herself, and in doing so, she naturally draws the right energy into her life. The right man will recognize your value, and the wrong one will fade away. When you know who you are, you don't waste time trying to convince someone to love or respect you. The right man will see your worth without you having to prove it. He will respect your boundaries, appreciate your presence, and cherish what makes you unique. The wrong man will make you feel like you need to do more, like you have to shrink yourself or explain your value. But the truth is, the right person will never need you to prove anything. They will see it in the way you carry yourself, in your self-respect, and in your confidence. When a woman understands this, she stops chasing, stops proving, and simply starts living. She allows the wrong people to walk away, knowing that their inability to see her worth does not diminish it. She stands firm in who she is, and by doing so, she naturally attracts those who truly appreciate her. Value is recognized through action, not words. The way you carry yourself, the decisions you make, and how you handle life's challenges define your worth far more than anything you say. When people see consistency in your standards, they understand that you are someone who cannot be easily swayed or taken for granted. If you constantly have to explain your worth, you are giving away your power. The truth is, people will believe what they see, not what they hear. If you say you deserve respect but allow disrespect, your words lose meaning. If you claim to value yourself but consistently accept less than you deserve, people will follow your actions, not your statements. A woman who understands this stops trying to convince people of her worth and instead focuses on living a life that makes it evident. She moves with intention, upholds her standards, and doesn't waste her time explaining herself to those who refuse to see her value. Men respond more to consistency, confidence, and self-respect. A man watches what you do more than he listens to what you say. If you set boundaries but don't enforce them, he sees that. If you claim to be independent but constantly seek validation, he notices. If you say you won't tolerate certain behaviors but still accept them, he understands that your words don't align with your actions. A woman who stands firm in her expectations, values herself, and refuses to compromise on what matters will always command respect. Confidence is one of the most attractive qualities in a woman, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that naturally draws it. A confident woman doesn't chase after love or approval. She knows she is enough as she is. She respects herself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve her. A woman who embodies this will always separate herself from the rest. Carry yourself with grace and purpose. Your presence speaks volumes. It's not just about how you look, it's about the energy you bring into a room. People can sense self-assurance without a single word being spoken. A woman who moves with grace does not let emotions control her actions. She remains composed in difficult situations. She does not entertain unnecessary drama. And she does not waste her energy proving herself to those who don't appreciate her. Purpose gives her direction, and grace gives her strength. She is selective about where she invests her time and attention because she understands that not everything deserves a reaction. A woman who carries herself this way leaves a lasting impression, not because she demands attention, but because her presence naturally commands it. You don't need to prove your worth, live it. The most powerful shift a woman can make is realizing that her value does not decrease just because someone else fails to see it. The right people will recognize your worth without explanation, and the wrong people will never see it, no matter how much you try to convince them. When a woman stops explaining and starts showing, everything changes. She no longer engages in endless discussions trying to make someone understand her value. Instead, she invests in herself, focuses on her happiness, and moves forward with confidence. People will either rise to meet her or step aside, but either way, she does not chase anyone. She knows that proving herself is unnecessary when she is already living in her truth. The right man will recognize your value, and the wrong one will fade away. A woman who knows her worth does not beg for love. She does not tolerate half-hearted efforts, mixed signals, or people who treat her as an option. She understands that the right man will see her value through her actions, the way she carries herself, and the standards she upholds. She does not need to explain why she deserves respect. She demands it through the way she treats herself. The wrong man will always require you to prove yourself, to do more, to explain why you are worthy. But the right man will recognize it without hesitation. When a woman fully embraces this, she stops chasing, stops convincing, and simply lets people show her who they are. The wrong ones will fade and the right ones will stay. Silence can be more powerful than words. When you argue, explain, or try to prove your worth, you give away your power. But when you step back, hold your head high, and let your actions speak for themselves, you become unforgettable. There is strength in knowing when to walk away, when to let go, and when to trust that those who truly see your value will not need explanations. A woman who understands this no longer wastes energy on people who don't appreciate her. She focuses on her own growth, her own happiness, and her own success. She stops chasing people and instead attracts the right ones simply by being herself. She does not need to raise her voice to be heard. Her silence, her presence, and her self-assurance say everything that needs to be said.